Welcome to the Grow Your Practice podcast. Hi, I'm your host, Chad Madden, owner of Madden Physical Therapy and Breakthrough. Join me each week as we dive into the best practices, systems, principles, tips, and tricks to help you grow your private practice.
One of the most common things that we're hearing here recently from private practice owners is something along the lines of, I'm really struggling to retain our staff. So if you've had a clinician or a key person within the last 3 years leave for a hospital or healthcare system and you're struggling to compete, this episode is for you. So when we debug that and we're talking with owners about what is going on in their practice life, and they say, I'm advertising, I'm looking for staff right now, I'm really having trouble finding who would help. There's a deeper process than just advertising. And most owners at that point, they're talking about something called sourcing. And in this episode, I'm going to be going through 10 different processes that you should have and you need to build out over time for you to have the type of team that you're looking for, whether it's a team of 2 people or a team of 2,000 people. So most things can be traced back to one of these 10 processes. And again, just a very quick review. Processes are really an outline of how to do something. So, here's how we do an initial evaluation. And that's a process. For us, it's the 7-step exam, right? So that is a process. When we put several processes together, we can eventually build a system. So in our building a team system, we have 10 processes. Process number 1, and I'm going to talk about each of these as a general overview. So number 1 is a scorecard. And there is a book by Randy Street and Jeff Smart. The book is called Who. There's a predecessor, which was one of those gentlemen, one of those authors, their father wrote a book called Top Grading, I believe, which was back in the 90s. But it's really the tech go-to book on team building. And tech here, I mean like Google, Amazon, Netflix, Apple, etc. But number 1, we need a scorecard. And again, that book outlines how to do a scorecard. You can figure it out fairly quickly. But for any position that you're hiring for, and this is what we require in our private practice, anytime that we're hiring for a position, the very first thing that must happen is we build out a scorecard. And a scorecard lists simple things like the purpose of the position relative to the organization, the accountability, the metrics that that position is going to drive. And again, this isn't, you should build the scorecard first, agnostic to the potential person that you're putting in that role. And you should think about more, what is the position that the organization needs? So the key discerning point there when you're building out your scorecard, but it has accountabilities, how that success or failure is going to be measured in terms of metrics, has competencies, and then it has the core values for your organization all in one document. When we're interviewing and when we're doing our early interview process, we use the scorecard in several ways. Number 1 is it helps build the ad for how we're going to advertise the position. If you look at most of our ads, it's somebody on our team or me frequently reading the scorecard, and that serves as our ad in terms of what we're looking for in fulfilling the position. Another thing that it can do is it drives the interview conversation in terms of behavioral history that you're looking for and experience and competencies, et cetera. And then it also serves, more importantly, later on down the road for your quarterly or annual review, however often you're doing reviews. And if you're doing promotions or, termination or personal improvement plans or anything like that, it also serves really well there. So the scorecard drives the entire conversation. That is one process. Process number 2 is what we call sourcing. So again, when we're doing a deep dive with owners, one of the things that will come up is, they'll say, well, having a lot of trouble finding whatever the position is, front desk or somebody in billing, or we really need to replace this office manager or this therapist that left. So that is the idea of sourcing. And what sourcing, a good way to think of it is going back to that market message media match triangle, right? It's the same idea here. But what happens is the owner frequently will say, well, in the past we would run an ad on Indeed and I would have, 20 applicants. And today I'm running an ad on Indeed and I'm only getting one or two. Well, that's a symptom of market message media match, and that the job market or the people available to work are now using other media to find their employment opportunities. So sourcing, today online could be LinkedIn. I mentioned Indeed. There's lots of different job boards and job forums. We use social media to share. We'll create a video going over the scorecard and what we're looking for. That's typically a 10 to 15 minute video. And then we'll have our team members socially share on their own social media platforms. So that's the idea of sourcing, is putting an ad out into the world in order to generate applicants. It could also be relationships that you have with local colleges and universities, and sourcing there, and pretty much any channel, the development of any channel that results in applicants coming in for an interview. The next one is a screening interview. So that's number 3. And a screening interview is highlighted again in that book, WHO. And what that is usually a 20 to 30 minute phone call where you're asking a very specific set of instructions. We haven't deviated from what's in that book in any way at all. We ask the questions exactly as they're laid out in the book, and they tend to be pretty strong at determining whether, this is a candidate we want to move on with. If you do not do the phone screen, what happens usually, so think about this. If you write out a good scorecard and you generate a good ad, step number 2 with sourcing, and you're generating, potentially good applicants, you want to have some way of filtering down to the candidates you should be spending the most time with so you can make a decision, right? And that's where the screening interview comes in. You can quickly filter through a large list of candidates just with those 20 to 30 minute phone calls. And then for those candidates who are ready to move on to the next level, and it appears that seems like they might be potentially a good fit for the position, then we move on to step number 4, which is the WHO interview. And again, so third time I'm recommending the book, there's a very clear interview process, which we call the WHO interview, which is outlined in the book. And I have a cheat sheet. I made it available in a couple different places, but it's based on the WHO interview. And then we use something else that we learned from Peter Shallard called OCEAN, OCEAN. It goes by another name as well, and I'm blanking on what that name is. The 5 key inventory or something like this, five tool inventory. I'm butchering the name of that, but nonetheless, we're looking for some key core values in their history. So we start back in high school, and what were they like in high school, and what were their dreams and aspirations, how they overcame different challenges the whole way through their education, their secondary education, college, if that is relevant. And then we're talking about their work experience and looking for, again, and this is a fairly long interview. So we'll invest, 2 to 3 hours in this interview to make sure that we have the right candidate. The other thing that I do want to say about the WHO interview, when executed properly, is there tends to be a facade for most people. Just, by nature, we're nervous. Think about the candidates coming in. They're nervous. They're trying to, be exactly who you want them to be. And we find that, after that 90-minute mark, that 2-hour mark, they typically will very much relax, and you'll get the real person. And that's what we're looking for, is we want to understand who the real person is. And the WHO interview allows you to do that. So again, that's a structured interview. We incorporate the OCEAN questions as well. Number 5 is a working interview. We want to have some idea of how the person is going to handle day-to-day flow. So this isn't an 8-hour thing, but for a clinician, In our working interview, it's a 15-minute screen, right? So if we're interviewing a physical therapist, the clinical director who's hiring, myself, will go into a room and I'll present a real problem. It's usually my real life problem, which is left-sided cervical pain and shoulder pain, and some, ulnar nerve radiculopathy into my left hand. And then, they can test anything that they want to test objectively. They can treat me however they want to treat. And then we want them to retest. And, most will do something along the lines of grip strength, and range of motion. And then we'll do some sort of manual therapy technique just for time, or, corrective self-movement like TMR or McKenzie, something like that, and then retest. And that's what we're looking for in a pressure situation, how that clinician thinks. And then you can apply that to pretty much any other position as well, depending on what it is. So a PTA, we have a series of goniometric and muscle strength measurements that we have them execute, just a little checklist. For the front desk, we have them, make some phone calls and see how they interact with patients. For billing, we have them in our system, et cetera. And the other disclaimer that I want to give here is you should follow all the employment laws for your state or province, for your area. And this episode does not serve as employment or legal advice. You should obviously follow those rules as well. So understand what the working interview can be for your area. And then that's step number 5. Number 6 is, once we have a good candidate, they've passed with flying colors through the screen interview, the WHO interview, and the working interview. Now we want to follow up with the references. There's a way to do that, again, outlined in the book. We then put together an offer, a written offer, and we go through a process of acceptance and agreement in terms of what salary and what the employment compensation is going to be, working hours, start date, et cetera. That's step number 7. Number 8 is onboarding. So the one fallacy I see a lot as, clinicians is we're overworked. We're doing too many, we're wearing, we're doing too many positions, fulfilling too many positions. So we're super busy. So the second we get a warm body in and on the team, we just kind of let them go, right? And let them figure it out for themselves. And, if something is very dire, then they'll come to us in an emergency. Now we're solving that for them. Well, a better way to think about it long-term is to have an onboarding process. So for our clinicians, especially if they're an entry-level DPT, it's going to be a 1 to 2 years of support, right? So a long onboarding process, making sure that their metrics are solid for free screen to eval conversions or eval to plan of care conversions, that they have a high graduation rate, et cetera. So it's really, getting that person up to speed and competent within their role. Step number 9, and that's onboarding. Step number 9 is incentivizing. And this is where, we have an incentivization program, and 100% of our team members are bonused or incentivized in some way, that when they contribute to the success of the whole company, that there's some sort of reward in there for them as well. So it's the structure around, their base pay plus their bonus also. And then finally, we have a clump of processes really into one, which is reviews, which result in promotions and or potentially a termination. So we prefer a quarterly review. We use the scorecard to drive that. There's an important concept about a scorecard, which is, if you're the employer and let's say I'm your next clinician, well, when I'm interviewing, you own the scorecard, right? You're saying what it is that you're looking for in terms of accountabilities, metrics, competencies, and core values. Once I begin the position, and especially as I go through the onboarding, your onboarding process, or gradually I begin to own the scorecard. 3 to 6 months in, I should completely own the scorecard. And then when we have the scorecard review, it's not you telling me how I'm doing, right? It's me saying, okay, here's what I said I was going to do this last quarter. This is what I did. We use red, yellow, green, super green. I either, met what I said I was going to do or I didn't, or some variation of that. Here's the competencies that I said I was going to work on. This is how I see myself doing here. And then these are the competencies I'm going to work on here next quarter. these are the accountabilities and metrics that I'm going to focus on next quarter. And so you get the idea. There's a transfer of ownership that happens there as well. And if everything is proceeding as planned, and I basically have a green scorecard, and there's farther opportunities for responsibility, and I'm asking for that responsibility, then there's an opportunity for promotion there, and then we build a new scorecard and add those new accountabilities in. And an example there would be like somebody who's a staff PT becoming a team leader, which is where they're overseeing, assistants, et cetera, or moving into like a clinical director role, right? So we use the scorecard to drive the promotions, the reviews, and also the termination as well. Anyhow, they are the 10 processes that we have in our personnel or a team building system. And one of the reasons that I was reviewing this is we are having a breakthrough live event. And so this is traditionally something that is for the owners that we work with. However, we do open it up to people that are not breakthrough clients at the time as well. But the theme of our next event, which is October 5th through 7th in Denver, Colorado, the theme is team building, right? And it's how to hire and retain A players. So we are going to have multiple sessions around every single one of these processes. This is a 2-day event, 2.5-day event. You're going to be surrounded by other like-minded private practice owners who are doing the same things that you are. They're facing the same struggles of declining reimbursements, and they're trying to build and retain their team as well when they can go to Chick-fil-A and earn $22 an hour, right? So they're facing the same exact struggles that you are, and you're going to get to network with them, see some of them speak on stage or in small groups. We run mastermind group, rotational mastermind groups as well. And it's a great event, and especially if you're focused on team building. So in order for you to, if you're interested and to attend the event, you do have to register. So within the show notes here, we will post the link for you to register. There is a discount for you, and there's a certain deadline that I don't have in front of me, but what you can do is click on the link, register. There will be a savings for you as a listener of the Grow Your Practice podcast. And awesome. Also, the other frequently asked question we get is, can I bring other team members? So I have a key office manager or clinical director or another partner. Can I bring them as well? Absolutely. We have, some PT companies and other healthcare companies that will bring, 10 or more team members to a single event. So you're more than welcome to do that as well. Anyhow, find that link. It's October 5th through 7th in Denver, Colorado. The theme is hiring and retaining your A-team players. And otherwise, I will see you in the next episode or in Denver.
Remember to visit getbreakthrough.com to access our free resource library designed specifically for private practice growth. While you're there, make sure you register for a complimentary growth assessment to learn about potential opportunities for growth in your local market. Again, thank you for tuning into the Grow Your Practice podcast and supporting our mission to help people in pain get back to normal naturally.